Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We have reached Hadith number 36 from Al-Arba'un An-Nawawi, the book compiled by Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah. This hadith was chosen by Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah to complete the etiquettes and the characteristics of a Muslim that was mentioned by Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It is narrated on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من نفس الله عن مؤمن كربة من كرب الدنيا نفس الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. The one who relieves a mu'min, a believer, from his grief in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pertain or will relieve him from the grief of the day of Qiyamah. And then he went on to say, وَمَنْ يَسَّرَ عَلَى مُعْسِرٍ يَسَّرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. The one who eases some of the difficulties on his brother, or his believing mu'min brother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make things for him easier in this dunya and in akhirah. And then he went on to say, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَمَنْ سَتَرَ مُسْلِمًا سَتَرَهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيا وَالْآخِرَةِ. If a brother in Islam, he covers his brother's faults and his weaknesses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cover his weakness and fault on the day of Qiyamah. And then he went on to say about seeking help, that wallahu satara Allahu في الدنيا والآخرة والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in help of that person as long as he is helping his brother in Islam in this dunya. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he continued on this hadith and he started mentioning the virtues of seeking knowledge. And he went and he continued on, he said, وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ فِيهِ عِلْمًا سَهَّلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بِهِ طَرِيقًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. The one who goes in the pathway seeking knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes his pathway to Jannah easier. And then he says, وَمَا اجْتَمَعَ قَوْمٌ فِي بَيْتٍ مِّن بُيُوتِ اللَّهِ يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ إِلَّا نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةُ وَغَشِيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةُ وَحَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. He says that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned the ones who gather in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala min baytin fi baytin min buyutillah, in one of the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the masajid, and yatluna kitab Allah, they recite the Quran, wa yatadarasuna, and they study the Quran, بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals sakina on these people, وغشيتهم الرحمة, and Allah covers them with his rahmah, with his mercy, وحفتهم الملائكة, and the malaikas descend upon them. So this shows the importance of studying and getting to the place of masjid. We will come back to the mas'ala of masjid, and then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he went on and he said, وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions these people within the ones in the heavens, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions these people within the angels. What an honor, what could be best or better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning our name when we are sitting in the masjid studying in the halaqah, and that is the best of best that we could achieve. The reason why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned specifically the masajid, is when someone is in the masjid and they teach and likewise they study, when they enter the bayt of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we all know وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا, that the bayt of Allah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is only for him, and do not call upon anyone else, even talking about transactions, talking about business or any other thing in the masjid. It could be the worst type of talk that you could talk. When you enter the masjid, your thought should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, when you enter the masjid and the lesson is being taught in the masjid, there is less corruption, less fasad, and more barakah in the lesson that is taught in the masjid, because the ones who will be teaching in the masjid will be the qualified ones. When the teacher is there sitting in the masjid and he's teaching, if he would make a mistake, there will be enough people who would correct him. Likewise, he wouldn't be telling any random lies or anything that comes off his mind, because there will be people who would be knowledgeable, who would maybe question him in certain things which could be wrong, and less or people who are not qualified enough would not come and sit in a masjid to do da'wah. And we see that today, where the scholars are still there in the masjid teaching, and the ones who are sometimes ignorant, the ones who are not able to be qualified as same as the scholars, they teach through the different medias and places, but sometimes we see how ignorances prevail. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he mentioned about this, where the malaikas, they descend upon these people, they descend upon these talabatul ilm, the students of knowledge, and that is where you find sakina, the peace. And this shows us that when we sit in majalisul dhikr, when we sit in halaqas, in the masjid, that we sit there with the sincere intention that we are going to be mentioned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not that we have come here, we are just sitting and our mind is somewhere else, we just listen to the halaqa and then we just disperse. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he continued on and he said, وَمَنْ بَطَّأَ بِهِ عَمَلُ لَمْ يُسْرِعْ بِهِ نَسَبُهُ, that the ones who become slow in doing good deeds, they are not so much giving importance to it, neither their nasab nor their lineage or any of them will take them forward or bring them forward to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us from the mu'mins who have the best characteristics, and the ones who are sitting in the majalis of dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.